Alright, welcome to a brand new tutorial series in UV mapping. This tutorial series is going to focus on the game engine, and we're going to be using Blender 3D and an online paint program called Pixlr, so all free software and free textures as well. So let's get started. First thing I recommend you do is, you'll see that I'm on Mac, but everything that I'm doing if you're a beginner, will work for Windows as well. So first thing I recommend you do is that you make a project folder. So you can simply right mouse click, make a new folder, and call it something appropriate. I've already got one here, UV House Project. And inside you'll see I've already got the model that I'll be using today, and I made another folder here for my textures, and I've already got some textures downloaded. Okay, so you can do this tutorial pretty much with any object. This tutorial series is made primarily for my students, but anybody can follow along. So we've got this simple building here, which is really just a cube with some details here. I'm not going to go into how to model the little factory here, but if you're really interested, please leave a comment below and I will see what I can do. Alright, so the very first step is to UV unwrap this object, and basically that's flattening it out so that you can apply textures to it. So the way it's set up is the ground is one object, the main building is one object, the little pipe is another object, and the ladder is another object. And I'm going to start off with the building since that's going to be the most complex. Okay, so I'm going to change one of my windows here to a UV image editor. So I'll come down here, choose UV image editor, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to tab into edit mode on the building, press A couple times, make sure everything is selected, and now the whole building is selected. I'll then press U to unwrap, and the two most popular, most used choices here are either unwrap or smart UV project. In my class, we have not gotten to using unwrap just yet. This works really much better if you use something called seams, and we just haven't gotten to that just yet. You'll see what happens if I do it now. It's all smushed and warped and looks terrible like a spider web here. And that's because we haven't told Blender where the seams are, so Blender doesn't really know how to cut it apart. Instead, we're going to try, in this project, we're going to try Smart UV Project. And this works really well. It doesn't work for every situation in an object, but it works really well. So you always want some island margin for the most part. So I'm going to click twice here, and I'm going to add in 0.06 and say OK. And that looks so much cleaner. Okay, so as I look underneath my factory here, I'm noticing that I have a bottom to the factory, and nobody's ever going to see that because nobody would go inside this building here. So I'm just going to take a moment here, flip into face mode by pressing Control Tab, selecting the bottom face and deleting that bottom face because it's not needed. I'll select the whole building again, unwrap, Smart UV Project. Okay, so now there's one less face. Okay, so for the most part everything's laid out pretty nicely. Some things are rotated incorrectly. They're rotated at 90 degrees. And when I do texturing, I like things to kind of be right side up. So for instance, if you see that I have the front selected now, you can see that it's rotated 90 degrees here and it's on its side. Another thing is that when you have nothing selected, your UV map disappears, and when you select things over here, then they show up, which is nice. I personally like seeing my UV map all the time. So if you come down here to the bottom of your UV map, you will see a button that looks like this. It's this guy right here. And I apologize for the little tooltip, but it's this one right here with the arrow pointing to the cube, and that's called the sync button. And when you enable that, it basically just puts your UV display there all the time. And this is really nice because now you can come over here to your UV window, press Control Tab, make sure you're in face mode, and when you select something over here, you'll see that it highlights over here, and you can verify, yep, that is the front. Okay, so now I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. So I'm going to select this here, and I'm simply going to press R for rotate, and then type in 90. And I'm realizing that I rotated in the wrong direction, so I'll just Control Z that. So I'll do R negative 90 and left click. Okay, so now that's face up like that. So now I'm just going to go through here and select the various other sides. So this is the back, and I can see that that's also rotated 90 degrees the wrong way. I'm kind of thinking they're all rotated the wrong direction. So I'm going to try this. So I'm going to select all, rotate negative 90, and that doesn't quite work out. Yeah, I was taking a guess. Okay, well, so I'm going to go through here and I'm going to rotate this. Oops, sorry, early in the morning. Okay, so some need to be rotated positive 90, some need to be rotated negative 90. Okay, so I'm just going through here and selecting faces, and these with the windows here, those are a little easier to, those are easier to figure out. So this is that's going to be asphalt. So these little ones here are the windows, so that's fine. So you might be wondering what these little guys are here. These are the frames of the windows here. So how I'm thinking about texturing this, I'm thinking that the building itself is going to be like old red brick. The top part of the roof here will be asphalt. This crooked little pipe thing here will be kind of a scratched metal, old age metal. The ladder will also be metal. The door will be an old rusty, kind of metal industrial door. And the ground here might be some grass, might be some stone tile, pavement, something like that. Haven't quite decided. And then of course I'll have broken windows and stuff like that for the middle here. Okay, now the other objects, the ladder, the pipe, and the ground, those are all going to be UV unwrapped separately and taken care of separately. Alright, so let me just go through here. So this is the door. The door looks good. So the door is rotated correctly. These guys up here, these I would like to rotate because these are going upside down. So I can either rotate them here, or I will have to rotate my textures inside Pixlr. So it's total preference. So these are the doors right here, which are going to be brick, and these will be brick as well, so that's okay if they're close to each other. I'm going to select the door and grab it and just move it over here so it's a little bit further away. I'm going to take these guys, grab, move them down here. I'm just kind of logically putting things where I think they might best belong. When I was first learning how to do UV mapping. First of all, it was very confusing. And then second, I was so anxious that I didn't want to spend any time cleaning up and organizing my UV map. It felt an awful lot like cleaning my room when I was younger, and I didn't care for it at all. Anyway, I finally just sat down and just did it, and man, it really paid off. It made the job so much easier and more enjoyable, and actually made it fun, if you can say that about UV mapping. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to save mine as UV Factory 2. You don't need to do that. You can just save over your original. Okay, so I think I'm ready. There's always little surprises, but I think I'm ready. So I'm going to export this, and then I'll move on to a part 2, which will be actually texturing. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have your whole UV map selected by pressing A, and then you're going to come down here to the bottom to the menu that says UVs, and then you're going to choose Export UV Layout, and it's going to be saved as a PNG, which means we'll have a transparent background. And let's go ahead and give it a different name. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Unwrap. There we go. And it is a ping. Okay, good. So now in preparation for part 2, you can open up a web browser and you can go ahead and go locate pixlr.com. And there you go. And I will see you in part 2. Thank you.